Growing luminous. On the mystic path, we create our own light. And at first, we struggle blind and baffled, seeing nothing, hearing nothing, unable to think, unable to imagine. We seem deserted by dream, vision, or inspiration, and our meditation barren altogether. But let us persist through weeks and months, and sooner or later that stupor disappears. Our faculties readjust themselves and do the work we will them to do. Never did they do their work so well. The dark caverns of the brain begin to grow luminous. We are creating our own light. George William Russell.
Okay. Thank you ever so much for this quote from the back of our Still and Moving Center Almanac, which we are using to begin all of our GEMS meetings for this year, which is dedicated to the theme of light on the path. And we have some people today with us to take up our theme for today of abandoning fear. And they are people who are great journeyers on their life's paths, Dishan Shah and Jade Chang. And they're going to speak to us from the tradition of mindful travel. They are both Qigong teachers, retreat hosts, and co-founders of Namaste Tony Hao. How'd I do with that one?
Right.
A space for wellness and mindful travel. Their paths have been taking them across more than 15 countries, yet their most meaningful journeys have been ones inward. An international couple, Dishen grew up in Mumbai, India, and has a background in yoga. Jade grew up in Southern California with Taiwanese roots. I have found these two to be fearless in defying convention, charting their own course within as well as outside. Some of their outward journeys have been quite adventurous. Let us learn how, with movement, mindfulness, and international travel, Jade and Dishen approach abandoning fear.
Mahalo, Renee. That was wonderful introduction. I have gonna try to make sure I have access. There you go. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Aloha, everyone, and welcome. And today we are going to dive into the theme of abandoning fear. And the first thing came to our mind was the fearless journeys of this wonderful book, The Alchemist. And we have been truly inspired by the journey of the alchemist in our own way. And we have traveled and made several mindful travels around the world. So we thought we'll bring along the wisdoms and the learnings from all our journeys, and we'll share it with you. And one of the interesting things that we wanted to speak mindfully in this presentation was that in life, we often face many unknowns, moments where fear can sneak in and we are tempted to be guided by those fears or to make those decisions based out of fears, pulling us away from our true purpose. And that's why this talk is, I think it's relevant and important. It's about choosing courage over fear, trusting our paths, even when it is uncertain, and continuing to move forward towards the life we are meant to live truly. And our wish is that you can find a gem of wisdom from today's discussion, something that truly speaks to your heart and gives you the courage to keep following your travel or your journey or your true path that is meant for you.
So before we dive deeper, we love to hear from maybe two or three of you. If you had to describe abandoning fear in a sentence, what does it mean to you? Would anyone like to share? Feel free to unmute and share. Diane?
I feel for me, when I abandon fear, I surrender to divine wisdom and divine love and listen and deeply listen And when I'm fearful, I surrender more and ask for guidance and grace.
Beautifully said. Thank you.
Yeah, I have to applaud Diane and echo her sentiments. I surrender to God's will because I don't know what I'm doing, and it's worthless to get worried. You know, you waste time, you waste energy, and it just makes your mind worse. So I surrender myself to Jesus. Amen.
Thank you for sharing, Mary. Would maybe one or two more people like to share? Anna, Pearl, or Noi, perhaps?
Mute. I kind of feel the same way as both Mary and Diane. I think that it's whenever I'm fearful of something, I just try to, pass it on to the universe and hope to receive courage in whatever, I want to be doing. And or I journal about the fear as well, just to kind of get it out of my system and allow a non-fearful attitude to whatever the case may be.
Amazing. Thank you, Anna.
Go for it, Renee.
One of my techniques when I feel fearful is to look at the absolute worst case scenario. And my husband always says, "Why do you do this?" and I do it because if I think through that and I can think my way through how I would solve it, or I would just allow myself to live with whatever that worst case scenario was, it really helps dissolve my fear in terms of going forward. I've already seen the worst and I can make it through. So here we go.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Renee. Wonderful. Was there one last person that wanted to share? All right, we will continue on. So spot on, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your versions of abandoning fear. So to us, abandoning fear is about an inner evolution. It's about answering a soul's call, even when maybe logic says no, or society says no, family says no, or your fear says that you can't do something. And Diana, you said this beautifully, that it's about surrendering to the unknown and walking forward, even when you don't know what the destination is going to be. It's also about following our inner guidance and our inner compass. And Anna, I think you touched upon this, is you listen deeply to your heart and your higher self. What is it my heart truly desires? And is this towards the path of my purpose? And it's also about letting go of attachments. So attachments can be you're attached to the fruit of something. Is it going to turn out to be this fruit or this result? Or attachment to people or previous identities of ourselves, and releasing what no longer serves our purpose. And also, lastly, for us, abandoning fear is about living your purpose and your personal legend, which brings us to a book, The Alchemist, that we like to share. And I believe that it speaks perfectly about abandoning fear. So how many of you have read this book, The Alchemist, before?
You can throw a shaka.
You can throw a shaka if you read.
Yay.
Amazing.
A
Okay,
few people there.
we got a few people. Amazing. All right.
All right. So for those who haven't read it, I would love to share a little bit about the story. The Alchemist is about a young shepherd boy named Santiago, who lives a simple life in Spain, looking after his sheep. But deep down, he feels a calling towards something more in life. He has this reoccurring dream of a buried treasure near the pyramids of Egypt. And that dream, it just won't let go. It keeps popping out every day or, few other weeks. The more he ignores about this dream, the more restless he feels. Until one day, he decided that I'm going to go after my dream. He sells all his sheeps, gives up everything that was familiar, and buys a one-way ticket to Egypt. And he was scared to death, like, what's going to happen? But his heart was beating louder than his fear. And what follows is a journey full of signs, omens, surprises, challenges, and transformation. And he learns to trust the language of the universe in terms of omens, symbols, and quite inner nudges. And each step, he faces a choice to turn back, go back to his old life, or to keep going forward. And his courage isn't loud or flashy. It is quiet, steady, and full of faith. And one of the favorite quotes from the book is, it says, "Tell your heart that the fear of suffering is worse than the suffering itself." And that one always stick to me because so often it's not about the path that is hard. It is the fear of starting that holds us back. But once we overcome that fear, we grow. And we start to meet the most powerful and the most beautiful part of ourselves that we would have never even known about it afterwards.
So each of us has alchemist moments where we turn knowledge into embodied wisdom. And we would love to share with you a story of when we abandoned fear in one of our mindful travels. So Deshane and I were in Taipei years ago, and we decided to go see the sunrise. And we decided that we're going to drive 2 hours outside of Taipei City and find ourselves in the middle of the mountains in pitch dark at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. And we were standing in the dark and we felt quite scared. And we questioned, should we, go on this hike? We can barely see the marker. We think this is the start of the trail. And we decided we're just going to abandon our fear and we're going to keep going and have positive expectations. So when we started the hike, we couldn't see anything, just the moon. And we didn't know the amazing things that was going to lie ahead from abandoning our fear. So as we reach the top, the sunrise is about to start. And when we reach the top, we experienced one of the most beautiful panoramic sunrises that we have ever seen in our lives. So it was a 360-degree view on top of the mountain. On one side, it was cascade rolling mountains. And another side, the sun was just rising above rolling clouds. And it was orange, yellow, pink. And then on another side is this view right here of islands. And it just took our breath away. And when we reached the summit, we thought we would be the only ones and the first one there.
Who comes hikes at the morning at 4:30 and be there?
2 hours outside the city. So we were actually surprised when we got to the top. There was already 8 elders at the top of the mountain, and they were having like a hiking party up there, and they were having such a lively moment. And we were surprised to see them, and they were surprised to see us. And over the course of that, they invited us to share tea with them on top of the mountain and stories. And we spent time with them. It's just such an incredible moment unfolded. So one of the elders that you see here in the picture, turned out she was a Qigong practitioner for over 40 years. So she and Deshane, we were all sharing Qigong moves on top of the mountain, practicing together. And it was a powerful reminder of how traveling into the unknown and abandoning fear leads to such unexpected and enriching connections. Another one of the elders was an 83-year-old elder who climbs the mountain every single day. And he has for like the past 40 years. And not only does he climb a mountain, so these elders also became caretakers of this mountain. So they would cut the grass to create the paths for people to go up, and they would plant trees and flowers throughout the year. And something so kind happened. They actually gifted us one of their newly planted trees on this mountain. And they told us that year after year, that tree would be there for us, signifying our growth.
Since then, we have climbed many mountains in Taiwan and all over the world, and we have met countless elders. And this experience also showcased one of the beautiful things, that strength doesn't come from youth, but it comes from the consistent practice and discipline. And it further deepened our passion for holistic wellness. And it also revealed the power of accepting guidance when we are open to it. And our travels have shown to us that no matter the language barrier or cultural differences, the human connection is always possible through kindness and shared experiences.
So now we want to dive deeper into the perspective of mindful travel. We believe that mindful travel, when done with intention, can mirror abandoning fear. Because when you travel with intention, you step outside of your comfort zone. You meet parts of yourself that are in unfamiliar mirrors. So through new cultures, new landscapes, and through kind people. And also when you travel, you kind of let go of all your routines and you let go of control. And in those moments is when you open up to spontaneous moments. And oftentimes when you also have to face a lot of fears, language barriers, or getting lost or maybe traveling alone. But when you grow past it, you feel freer and you feel stronger than maybe you had before. So we notice that you may even experience moments of healing, connection, and even more connected with your purpose.
Another wisdom that we would love to share from the alchemist that really instilled an abundance mindset in us was that it said, when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. And in one part of The Alchemist, the boy, whose name was Santiago, is asked to turn himself into the wind. He had 3 days to prove it. He was being captured by the people from the military from the desert. And so he had to open up himself and prove that he can turn into a wind, because he was being quote unquote called as alchemist. And he learned how to talk to the elements of the desert, to the wind, to the sun, and eventually to the soul of the world. On the 3rd day, he remembers that everything is one. He is part of the wind. He's part of the desert. There's a being in the universe, and he opens his arm to the sky, and the winds begins to rise. A swirling sandstorm builds around him, powerfully wild and alive, and he disappears and becomes the wind. And I wanted to share a mindful story that exemplifies this moment of alchemist moment. So another hike from Taiwan called as Teapot Mountain that me and Jade went through, and Jade really wanted to summit this. However, when we arrived there, it was a cloudy day. It was pouring heavily. And as we were hiking up, one of the locals warned us, saying that you should turn back. It will be difficult and that you won't get to see anything. And Jade said to me that in that moment, don't let someone else's version of what's difficult be your reality. We'll go slowly and steadily and assess based on our judgment. And the whole way up, it was pouring with rain, with thick clouds covering the views. But Jade said and kept insisting, like, we are meant to see something special. And we reached to the top, to this place where you see the pagoda. At that moment, the visibility was almost zero at that point. And we were about to turn back. And we said, you know what, we are grateful to be here and be able to experience this much. It's okay that we don't get to see anything. But then we spent 1 minute over there and just shared our gratitude prayer to the nature that it allowed us to come here and be one, even experience in the midst of this almost no visibility. And that moment, when we said our gratitude, a huge gust of wind came across us for 1 minute, and we're just hanging on to our pillars. Like, what's happening?
The pillars that you see here.
And we turn back, and you see all the clouds have been parted, literally in that one minute. And it revealed the Jofin place in golden, glorious sunlight. And in that moment, I told to Jade, you know what? Your desire to see this was so earnest and so strong that literally the universe and the wind and the clouds and the sun conspired to help us. And that moment was very special. And it's just, again, one of the truly embodied learnings that we kind of felt is how to let go of your fear and just allow it to unfold. And we'll close with this last wisdom, and then we'll hand it over to Renée. I'll let Jade go ahead.
So in The Alchemist, it says every search begins with beginner's luck, and every search ends with the victor being severely tested. In the beginning of pursuing any dream, it's the honeymoon phase, and we often feel excited when you're pursuing something, it's not just about that honeymoon phase. When we move forward, the journey tests us, asking us to take leaps of faith, to abandon fear, and to take consistent action so that we can stay true to our path. And this is the universe way of asking, have you truly learned what you came here to learn? Can you turn your experiences and your challenges and your growth into a lasting wisdom? So The Alchemist reminds us that reaching our dream isn't just finding a treasure, but it's about becoming the person that is ready to receive it as well. So mahalo nui loa. We'd also love to hear about your experiences on abandoning fear or mindful travels. And to do that, we're going to hand the mic back to Renée to kickstart our lovely discussion.
Thank you both so much. What an exquisite presentation you gave us. Truly enchanting, magical. And I'm just wanting to recap one of those last sentences you said, something like reaching your dream isn't about the travel itself or the adventure itself. It's about the person that you become, something to that effect. Mm-hmm. Could you restate that?
Yeah. So reaching your dream isn't just about finding the treasure. It's about becoming the person who is ready to receive it.
Mm. And that requires fearlessness.
Aligning to your true nature of being, in a way.
Sure. Yeah, I think that rings true to me, because sometimes we don't know our own abilities to be big enough to receive, especially something that is very, very unknown to us. Mm. Yeah. So thoughts other folks have.
I'm really struck with that quote myself. It's not finding the treasure, but a person ready to receive it. And even when your examples of going to the top of the mountain, it's almost like you take that leap of faith, and are we able to receive? Sometimes we don't think we're worthy, or it's like holding that dream in our hearts and being able to manifest it, but also trusting when it's not, that we're being led to something different or better or whatever. And I really like that, because I think it is our ability to receive guidance and faith and trust, and being willing to surrender to that. And I love that quote. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana.
I'd like to know. I'm sorry, Noah. Do you want to go ahead? Okay, I'm not muted. This is Mary. Can you hear me?
Yes, Marianne, we got you.
It's a new system, so I apologize.
You're good.
And I wanted to, but now I can't put a big heart up there, but there's a heart. Thanking you for presenting this beautiful topic very beautifully. And then something I wanted to start with is that by being together, it's evident to me that the two of you have correlated the risk of joy, of mirroring each other's experience. The sacredness of that is magnified. I think the journey, and what I mean by that is just to be in an intimate presence with you coming to grow and to find this change in yourself, and this is an alchemy that the togetherness of your experience in mindful travel has witnessed in seeing each other. Does that make sense? Like you're mirroring a phenomenal activity together
Yeah.
personally, and yet you're able to reflect it to us. And I trust that when you lead other people, you're interpreters for them to understand the depth of transformation that's happening for the individual, the collective. Does it make sense?
Wonderfully said, Marianne. And thank you for your thoughts. I think one of the ways I think two things that spoke to us was you are absolutely bang on correct that, it is how it is important that we both experience some experiences together, because there's an observer and there is the other person who is experiencing something. Many times she would lead us into some places, and there would be a moments where I would lead her into moments. And it requires surrender on each of our side. It requires faith. It requires love. And it is a moment of trusting into someone leading you into a sacred space. And the best way to start is to first trust in yourself and then see if you can expand it further around you. And the second part to that is being able to translate this experience is it comes in a way where you recognize that you are one of the sacred bridge, which allows people to come and experience those moments. And I think everybody has those sacred energies that bridge some experiences that you can even translate. It requires courage and faith to even tap into that energy and be able to express and translate. So I appreciate you recognizing that and even expressing it in that way itself. It's same way.
I think all those goddesses that you met on the top of the hill in Taiwan probably were the bridge for you, and the tree keeps expanding. I was in the Camino Santiago that I did. I took a huge risk and went rogue again. And the alchemist came, it's of course, a lot of his journey was assumed to be part of the Camino Santiago. And we were in the midst of a misty forest and started working the alchemist's knowledge. And I found myself with a group who had read it. And yet we found this lonesome road that had not had pilgrims for a long while. And it all just kind of moved through the mist, like the experience of it. So even the suggestion and the calling to go on a journey and take that new route might be hitting through a dynamic mythological stream that we're all called to. And that is so beautiful that you brought the alchemist in, because it is really trusting that the fog's going to reveal itself and that your journey is appropriate. And yet you're changing, you're removing the veil for the place that's welcoming you, as much as the intention of the goddesses and gods and the spirits that needed to be reignited by your witnessing. So it was perfect to hear that story with the alchemists retold again. Thank you.
Wonderful. Let's call on Carolyn and then we'll circle back to Noi.
The thought came to me as you were speaking that usually we assume that fear has to do with a situation, with something we don't is new or unknown. And so we're kind of focused on circumstances. But I've found that even if we're kind of unhappy or fearful of circumstances, somewhere in the problem, there's a human being, there's a person we fear, or the person we don't like, or the person we will have to partner in some way. And so you have to address that question. What is it? Is there anybody in this situation that I really need to revise my my impression of, or my expectations, and think of them? I'm really kind of stuck on the Dalai Lama's loving kindness, that no matter who or what might be helping to create a fearful situation, should be seen as a soulful human being. Everyone has positive capacities. You can, whether in different ways and levels, but you have to revise, even if you don't know the person, or you think that nothing's going to change them or whatever, and revise your, or expand your positive impressions of them, and even think about ways that you could work with them and all of that. And that dissolves, it seems to me, any uncertainty or fear, or whatever it is that's bringing negative attitudes into yourself and the situation. So the path of brotherhood and sisterhood is always the nurturer of positive feelings about a situation.
Thank you so much, Carolyn. Is there somebody who wants to respond to that before I call on Noi? That particular point about this being a really important element in abandoning fear is to relook at anyone who might be part of this situation or circumstance that we find ourselves fearful of, adjusting our thoughts, our attitudes, our beliefs about that person into a more positive one, and somehow that helping us to abandon that fear. Malia?
Hello, hi everybody. That just made me think of, oh, now I got Paulo Coelho stuck in my head. No, Mr. Rogers, and how his mom told him, always look for the helpers. And so it's kind of interesting, Caroline, that we can think of ourselves as those helpers in a situation, but we might also be able to identify others. That was just a thought, bringing Mr. Rogers into the discussion.
Beautiful. Anyone else on this line of thought? Anna? Let's see, maybe unmute.
Okay, here we go. Okay, can you hear me? Well, I definitely agree with that, and I think it applies to any situation wherein, or I always like to look at it that, you know, if I come across someone who's maybe negative, there has to be a reason behind it. Like, we all have baggage, and some people maybe bring it into a situation in a negative way. But if you do look at it, like Carolyn said, from a positive perspective, and understanding that someone could be suffering, but they just don't know how to express it, or maybe they don't know that they're coming across negative. So if I totally agree. If we change our attitude toward any negative situation, then there's a saying, I don't remember it exactly, but it's something like, if we change our attitude towards that, then that situation changes. So yes, I totally agree with what Carolyn said, and thank you for that.
Yeah. Anyone else, including Jade and Dushen?
I think few thoughts crossed my mind. I think the immediate thought that came to me was maybe that person should make a journey with the other one and find the answer, whether it is really worth spending energy with that side of the energy. Sometimes it's about making those conscious journey and at the same time maintaining your boundaries in a healthy way, so that you can create those positive dialogues to even be possible for the energies to converse, come to certain level of understanding. But at the same time, you have to stay true to your own path. I know, as we say in Bhagavad Gita, it is important to fail in your dharma than trying to succeed in someone else's dharma. And beautiful story that, again, from The Alchemist, that I was thinking about this at the moment. The boy wanted to become the wind, and it wanted to create the sandstorm. So it talked to the sand saying, "Hey, sand, can you help me?" The sand is like, "I don't have the powers. You have to go talk to the wind." So the boy goes and talks to the wind, and the wind says, "I don't just blew by myself. It's the sun which is causing me to flow around the world." So it's like the boy was transcending one level of understanding to the other, and then he goes and talks to the sun, and all this while, the desert, the wind, everyone are having fun. It's like, now we'll see what happens if this boy is going to talk to the sun, and he has this conversation with the sun, and sun is like, okay, let's hear from this boy. What does it mean? I have all the answers. And then the boy asks that, can you help me turn to the wind and talk to me, allow me to talk to the soul of the world? And the sun is like, I myself have not done this before. How can I answer this? Like, who is this boy? Who is this, getting me to a place who is questioning my ego? And in that moment, the sun says, like, you know what? The only thing I know is to go talk to the soul of the world. Even sun has no answer on how to reach to that level. And in this moment, the sun having these questions in his mind, the sand and the winds are all having fun. It's like someone is having a conversation with the sun who is not having an answer for the first time. And in that moment, what everybody realized, all the elements, they all are trying to go back to the oneness. Everyone is having the same feeling that they're trying to go after, to reach towards the oneness. And in that moment is that boy realizes, okay, I am present in everyone. And it's not that someone may have an answer. It is just that everyone is trying to do their best in some ways. And when you transcend those understanding, you surrender, maybe you might get an answer one way or the other. So that's my answer to that.
Beautiful. Love that answer. Let's finally circle back to Noi. Noi, do you still recall what you were going to ask or say?
I've been sitting here like, me next, me next, me next.
Good.
Thank you. Well, several thoughts came to mind. It's like when it comes to dealing with people and it triggers a bit of fear, I have to always check myself and ask, what is right about this that I'm not getting? And then two, sometimes things get a little sticky. And then I have to also ask myself, am I allowing fear to distract me from what I really need to focus on in order to get something done? Or, because sometimes things are a little uncomfortable when you're doing business or dealing with family and friends, but we can't use fear as a distraction. We just have to step in with our heart and express ourselves well, wholeheartedly and get our points across, because we have to honor ourselves while at the same time, hopefully the presentation is respectful and caring, regardless of whether that person or people may not agree with what you have to share. Yeah, so I think checking yourself first and asking the question, and I use the question, what's right about this that I'm not getting? Because it makes me more curious.
Mhm, mhm.
And maybe then I can be more creative on how to deal with a situation, or just to deal with myself too. Thank you.
So transforming fear into curiosity
Yes.
might be a way through.
Mhm.
And something else that you said reminded me of a quote. It's a Native American quote that's something like that, like this. Allow yourself to speak as sunlight directly into our hearts. And that takes fearlessness. And I also think there's something about us approaching others with fear that does not pull out the best in that other. When we expect them to somehow act or behave or even emote in a way that's in any way going to be harmful to us, or justify that fear, just our expectation of it tends to pull it out of people. It draws that part of them out towards us. Whereas when we find that ability to come from within and to speak with that directness and love that you were talking about, Noi, all of a sudden that person doesn't have to see themselves as that bully, as that scary individual that we otherwise were picturing them as. And that we were, you know how it is, if you're around a dog and you act fearful, it pulls out that aggressive nature in the dog. Whereas when you're around a dog and you act with confidence and you just walk straight through, the dog's fine, no problem. And I think there's something about that in human beings, that we get what we expect from the people around us. And so when we expect and we pull from ourselves that highest within us, expecting to meet that highest in them, there's a much greater likelihood that that's actually what we're going to receive.
I just read a book called Let Them, and it's very popular right now. And it's actually talking about being aware of who people are and what the situation is, and seeing the reality of it. And when we let them be them, then I can look at, let me, what do I need to do? Because, and I think it's really important, because sometimes I can, if I really see reality that this is the way the person is, oops, sorry, I may choose that I don't want to be around them, or I may choose that it's not healthy for me. And especially with all the fear that's going on in the world, I want to know what's going on, but I don't want to live in that fear, because I don't have control, and I don't want to add that frequency and that fear in the world. I don't want to add that so that it runs my life. And there is just so much fear and blaming and hatred and things. And so my position is that I want to live love and light, and I want to live that from inside myself, and that there are people that I may choose not to be with, that I do feel fearful. And so I'm trying, it's navigating the boundaries of what is right for me, and listening to what what is it I need to do? And if they are who they are, what is it that I'm being guided to do? And sometimes that's walking away, and sometimes that's saying, I don't have control of what's going on in the world, but I do have control of what's going on in my little world. And I don't want to lose my joy, my faith, my trust my love because I'm living in fear. And that's what so many people are doing now. They're so bipolar in their brain of all the anger and fear, and they have a right to be. I mean, they've lost their jobs, they don't know if they're going to have money, and yet how do we take care of ourselves and our family and really live that kindness in our everyday life with that compassion and kindness, and do the best we can to add more love in the world instead of living. We don't want to be fearful of fear. We want to acknowledge it, and we want to see it, and we need to make a choice when we feel that.
That give it a certain acknowledgement that there may be some reason. I mean, we are born with that ability to experience fear. And what do we do with it? That's a great question. What are your thoughts, Millie? I see a big smile there. Oh, you got gooey hands. Cannot turn on the unmute button.
Thank you. I think I was just thinking about cultivating different ways of knowing. I think that we all have innate just ways of knowing what is true. And maybe through life experience, through self-doubt, we might question it. And it almost seems to me like we really need to be facing these fears and challenges just to kind of hone in on our own sense of what is right. And I love travel. Mom has she could tell a lot of stories about this. But I think that travel takes us out of our just day-to-day, what we expect, into the unexpected. And I know that there's a lot of research into just the activities of the brain, that when we're in our normal routine, our brain actually shuts down function. It's self-preserving. And when we're in a new place or experience a new challenge, our brain starts to wake up and light up so that we can have more access. And so it just seems to me that as long as we can get a sense of what is harmful, like what there's potential harm, triggered by our fear, like if we're sensing something like we need to get to safety, that's really important. But these other kind of fears of choices and making right or wrong choices, I think they're really valuable and critical in helping to develop our own sense of what is right. And that changes all the time. But yeah, thank you for this discussion. And I love The Alchemist, one of my favorite books. Love, love, love The Alchemist. I'm curious about your personal legend, if there's a moment to talk about that.
Before that, let's follow this thread of travel, since that's the tradition that Deshan and Jade have chosen to speak from, is the tradition of mindful travel. Experiences or thoughts you have in regard to traveling and abandoning fear. Anna.
Well, this has really given me, this wonderful presentation, a lot of food for thought. I've been an avid traveler my entire life, but I never really thought of travel as a way for my growth, my spiritual growth and evolvement. I've always thought of those occurring in adverse situations, and getting through adversity that leads to growth, and then you change the person you are, hopefully for the better. But with travel, I always enjoyed the experiences, but I never consciously thought of them as actually also growth and changing me. But I definitely will look at it like that from now on, because I love that. And I have had so many wonderful experiences, and maybe I just didn't appreciate them for the deeper meaning. I just thought of them more as these wonderful adventures that I've had, beautiful sights that I've seen. And although I did at the time, if I came across a beautiful sight, it moved me deeply. So I did experience that, but then I moved on to the next one. So I really love that idea of travel also being part of my growth and constant evolvement. So thank you for that.
Sounds as if we think of our travels almost as pilgrimages, maybe it would help to cultivate that attitude of the potential of spiritual growth arising out of it, no matter where it is that we're going to. Yeah. Marianne, you've recently been to India. Do you have thoughts along these lines?
I would like to say, Anna, you writing a memoir about it might be really fun for you to do. Yes and yes, but the first time I jumped ship from this continent, I went to Taiwan, Seoul, Korea, and Taiwan. And we were on our way to get up at 4 a.m. to climb. I remember going to Hualien, but we got to this place where the railroad track stopped and broke, and it wasn't going on. It was an old railroad. And my friend said in Chinese, he said the words stop, look, and listen. And he goes, when you get to the railroad tracks, that's the sign symbolically, stop, look, listen. And so the beginning of my pilgrimage to Taiwan and was that essence of you're going to be hit by these things. You're going to come across the movement of change. And it's like a railroad that you want to stop and calculate where you are, let your brain do what it will do, look and see where the essence of change is about to happen, and listen, because you may not be the only force that's moving across that railroad track. So as you do that, it's a matter of inner discernment, which I think is that self-transformation of travel. So I kind of certainly had every day an experience when I was in India on this, but I think going back to that moment in Taiwan, that prepared me to get better and better of feeling the fear, stop, look, listen, and then move forward.
Thank you so much. Carolyn, anything about travel you might like to mention? And then we'll go to this idea, very tempting, of personal journey or a personal legend. There you go. You got it.
Yeah. Did you say ask me about family?
Actually, more about travel.
Travel. Oh,
Yeah.
Yes. Though after I graduated from college, I said, okay, I've done what I've been asked to do, kindergarten up through college. It's now my time, freedom. So I got a good paying summer job, sold my sailboat, and bought a ticket on the SS Waterman, which was a cheap student ship. And off I went. It turned out to be a 15-month pilgrimage. And I didn't call it pilgrimage at the time, although as I was going over in the boat, I imposed some rules on myself about what's not going to be part of this trip. And it was, first it was the cities in Europe and all, but eventually with different people, some college friends and some just you meet them in the hostage. We went all the way down to the end tip of Spain and all across the Mediterranean coast. And the most different part was to hitchhike through the Middle East, which now might seem a crazy and not very good thing. Although we did hear stories about they steal women and their passports, but we don't. No matter. And it was all interesting. And I'd had these courses in the Middle East, but what was a surprise were the human relationships encounters. We were offered hospitality in people's homes. We were and made our way. I got as far as Cairo before I kind of had to choose whether I was going to go back to graduate school. So, and I realized as I got out of the train station in Cairo, because you didn't really hitchhike there, that I was in a completely different culture. I had left the Western East American culture, and I had discovered I had so many warm, friendly encounters with people. So I have a different view of the Middle East than maybe a lot of people do. But also, it was just the constant independent discovery that really was fruitful and is what I was searching for. And I did get an invitation to go to India, but I wasn't ready for that. So yes, that was a major pilgrimage, and I've traveled quite a bit else in all of that, but it was like a good foundation to and a much broader understanding, I guess, maybe not understanding, but just a attitude, a very positive attitude towards uh, uh, um, people, and to see such generous hospitality. They take you home and make you give you the master bedroom and put out clean sheets and pajamas, which when you're hitchhiking in a with a little teeny tent, that was a nice alternative. So anyway, that was a big shaping. And then I've traveled all over the United States because my family's lived all over the United States.
How remarkable of a way for you to begin your career as a professor of many different ones of the social sciences, and as the president for a couple decades of the Institute of World Culture, to begin that world travel that way. So let's circle back around to Deshen and Jade, and how would you like to round us out here?
I think I'd love the question from Malia on sharing about what is our true personal legend. I think I would love to have more discussion on that later. But I think one thing that I would like to tell in the moment is one of the personal legend is to be like a bridge to help also others find their personal legend. I think that was a conversation which Marianne also brought up. And I think it really spoke to me in that moment. And the medium and the guide or the avenue through which you may find your personal legend will be different. It may not look same for everyone. I think we have to really tap into our inner heart and know what is that path I want to choose, where I can easily surrender my fear and I can choose courage over it. And that is the true path we would choose for that person, to allow that person to grow and take their moments of leap of faith and help them find their true personal legend.
To add to that, I think a person's personal legend is related to being so light that personal legend or that superpower of theirs can shine through, whether it's peace, joy, wisdom, positivity, and just being so light or so clear that shines through and inspires others. And we are all just vessels for that. We can listen to the signs on where nature wants us to go to fulfill and be that vessel. And we have to fill ourselves up and really embody that through consistent daily action for that overfilling to be, so that we can serve generously that personal legend. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
I want to let everyone know that Jade and Deshen lead a Qigong class every Tuesday in Hawaii time. It's at 4:30, and they give it both online and in person. So the fact that you might not be here on island doesn't mean you can't take the class. I want to tell you about the next couple of weeks of gems, and meanwhile, maybe somebody will feel so inspired to give a vote of thanks to our presenters, and otherwise I'm always happy to. So next week we have the topic of heroes of light. Love that, especially in this year of light on the path. And the following week we will be recognizing the Buddhist holiday of Buddha Purnima, which is by some aspects of Buddhism considered to be the triple anniversary of the Buddha's birth, enlightenment, and passing. And so that week will take up the topic of the therapy of the Buddha, and that's going to be presented to us by Bob Buss, one of our frequent participants here at GEMS. So is there somebody who would like to give a vote of thanks to Deshen and Jade? Malia.
Aloha and mahalo nui to both Jade and Deshen. What a wonderful talk, and I think that you've really illustrated to all of us how we really have teachers all around us, whether they are mountains or elders, and just my greatest thanks to you for also being that kind of teacher and guide for so many people, myself, this group today, and whoever's watching in the future. Thank you for being that guide and teacher for all of us. Mahalo nui.
Mahalo, Malia.
Mahalo nui.
Beautiful, beautiful vote of thanks. Thanks so much. We enjoyed every single one of you. All your contributions were just of an immense help in our collective journey today towards this understanding of how to abandon fear through our travels too.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Noi.
Again.
Thank you.
Very kind.
Hello, everyone. Bye, Mom.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Oh, that was
Aloha. Thank
back
you.
there. Oh.